turn the light on. Let's turn the light on. There we go. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. Out of the gate, we are live on a Friday. Wow, look at this. Friday, January 17th, streaming live on YouTube, JT the Brick YT, and on the Raiders flagship station here in Vegas, and on the Raiders mobile app. Man, you add up all those platforms, we are real happy to be here. Good afternoon, everybody, on a Friday where I'm going heavy today on the NFL playoffs, and we're going to try to pick some games today. We have an open phones Friday. As Bobby pointed out, we had a very weak, not bad, but a weak with phone calls. Yeah. And we don't live by phone calls. You see how long I can talk without a breath. But you've been quiet out there in Raider Nation. So I'm kind of calling you out today in Raider Nation. Bobby said, go ahead, do them out. You've had a quiet week here. You wonder why I do these things in the summertime. Greatest Raiders team of all time. Greatest Raider player at every position, because it's summer. It's January, everybody. We're in the middle of the NFL playoffs. Raiders don't have a head coach. They don't have a GM. And they're looking to hire a coach, looking for a quarterback. I think that's pretty good content. If you're one of those guys that like misery, oh my God, well, there's not misery. This is not a team on a 10-game losing streak. We haven't lost 10 in a row for a while. Sorry, what? Right? So we're not in that mode. But we are in this mode now where we're trying to figure out, we're trying to guess, and that is never good on the radio to guess. And that's the focus of my monologue, brought to you by Golden Entertainment. They own 70 taverns in town. Oh, my God. 70, and the Strat, and Arizona Charlie's, and the Laughlin Entertainment Center, and a bunch of other things. So we appreciate them. Head on out and watch football at PT's. They fuel the monologue. They get us going every day, 5 to 7, midnight to 2. So I don't like guessing on the radio. I'm a stat guy. I used to get something called the newspaper. I still get the newspaper. It gets dropped on my driveway every day. My wife doesn't say, are we going to cancel this? No, I need the newspaper. I want to read Ed Graney. I want to read Vinny Bonsignore. I want to read Johnny Katz. We have an unbelievable newspaper here in town. The Las Vegas Review-Journal is pretty good. I mean, when my father-in-law comes out here, he takes him 6 hours to read it cover to cover. He's like, this is a good paper. So I get the newspaper every day, and I like to look at stats. I grew up as a young boy in North Massapequa, Long Island, and my dad taught me how to read the box scores. Anybody have a kid under 10 years old? Raise your hand, beep your horn. Your kid has never heard of a box score in a newspaper. Yeah. Never heard of it. No idea what that is. Explain what it is. The paper would come, because there was no sports center when I grew up. There was no cable. And you would sit there and you'd wait for the newspaper, and I'd read the box score. I'd look at the Yankees. Who the Yankees were playing out west. They were playing Seattle or Oakland. I'd look at the newspaper and see the box score. Who got a hit? Who didn't get a hit? And I grew up with that. And I lived looking at stats. So that's how I like to do radio. I like to preview games. Kind of give me an idea today who I think is going to win these playoff games. And then after the games are played, I go on the radio Sunday night on Mad Dog, and I break down the games live right after they end. That's what I think is my wheelhouse. That's what I believe is my strength, is to watch a game and talk about it as soon as it ends without producers, donuts, bagels, coffee, and interns telling me what to talk about. I like to watch sports and talk about it instantly. So we don't have anything to talk about with the Raiders coaching hire today. Nope. We don't have anything. No news. It is stealth over there on Raiders Way, right next to the new hospital they opened up there, home of the Aces and the Raiders out there in beautiful Henderson, where I was the MC of the groundbreaking 6 years ago yesterday. 6 years ago yesterday, Bobby, I had a shovel. I was on stage. Yeah. There was nothing behind me but dirt. Really cool photo. And I'm there, and I'm like doing this MC, and Derek Carr's on stage with me and Mark Davis, and they didn't even put a shovel in the ground out in Henderson. That was 6 years ago yesterday. Time flies, doesn't it? Since then, John Gruden, Mike Mayock, Rich Bisaccia, Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, Antonio Pierce, and Tom Telesco. I got that right? Those are 7. Those are 7. The reason why Mark Davis is going out there and doing something different now is because he wants to get it right. And he hasn't gotten it right. And every other time he made a hire, he thought he had it right. He vetted everybody. It was good decisions along the way. A bunch of people agreed with it. Mark pulled the trigger, and that's what they did. And they gave those gentlemen an opportunity to win for the Raiders. The Gruden scenario is really weird because with Gruden, the emails came out, it derailed him. That was a professional hit job, as Brett Musburger told us here on the show. Hit job. And after that, every other decision was vetted, and it didn't work out. And the only criticism I hear of Mark Davis is maybe he's not patient enough. Oh, really? Check out these fans. And I'm in that group, Raider Nation. Raider Nation is not patient. I would say 95% of my audience wants to make a change every 2 weeks. They do. And they loved AP. Oh, man, did they love AP. Oh, my God, they had signs in the stands. Sign AP. Give AP. He's got to be the guy. Cigars, the players love him. It's a good decision. Antonio Pierce deserved to be the head coach after the interim coach. Now, because Antonio Pierce was the head man in charge of a team that was decimated by injuries, everybody hurt. Literally, the worst injuries I've ever seen in my 27 years with the team. Without a doubt, the worst year of my career with Raider injuries, nothing's close. What a shame Antonio Pierce was the guy during that time. What happens if Antonio Pierce was the coach and no one was hurt? Guys don't get hurt sometimes. TJ Watt never gets hurt. He gets banged up, but he'll play. Right? You go around the league, Kelsey and Mahomes are playing every week. And they're playing into the playoffs and the Super Bowl. They're always playing. What happens if Malcolm Kuntz, Christian Wilkins, Marcus Epps, Jacorian Bennett, the list goes on and on, don't get hurt? Antonio Pierce is still the coach. I really believe that. I don't think Antonio Pierce would have gotten fired if the Raiders won 7, 8, or 9 games. And I thought last year they'd win about 8. I said that on the show. I didn't have them as a playoff team, which is hard to do when you work here on the flagship station. I didn't. You don't want to make a living telling this everybody in August that the Raiders are better than you think. Oh my God, Bobby, how many radio shows did I go on? Jeez, 30. I went on 30 radio stations around the country talking Raiders. Like, how do you think the Raiders are going to do? I think Raiders are better than you think. What do you mean? They're better than you think. They got a great roster. It's developing. Got a good head coach. Tom Telesco is drafting Brock Bowers. They're going to be better than you think. So what do I think? If people ask me on the record, I said about 8 or 9 wins. I was wrong. I didn't think the Chargers would make the playoffs. I was wrong. I didn't think Denver would make the playoffs. Double down, I was wrong again. So when I'm wrong, I come on the radio. Twitter's hard because when the trolls come at you when you're wrong, you can't look them in the eye. They're not on a microphone. They're not calling. They're just trolls. Here, it's really easy. You call me. If I'm wrong, you tell me I'm wrong, and we'll move on. We'll agree. And I want to hear what you have to say. So now they got to get it right. And Ben Johnson seems to be the guy. All insiders are focused on Ben Johnson. And, why wouldn't you want Ben Johnson right now? He is the next whiz kid, young guy, under 40 years old, out of the mold of Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. He's the guy. And would you go back in the hot tub time machine and take Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay or Kevin O'Connell? You would. They're really good. And this guy, everybody thinks is right at that level. Some think he's better. This guy had the balls to tell the Washington Commanders owner while he was in the air, 30,000 feet, I don't want the job. And the plane actually turned around. Okay? This guy's telling the Jets, I'm not interested. Really? You would. This guy is laser focused on his career. Hopefully we get him. We in the Raider Nation get the guy because he's laser focused. Like, I don't know if he wants to be the head coach of the Raiders or not. I have no idea. Tom Brady knows, and Mark probably has an idea. Tom Brady is going to be with him this weekend in Detroit. Now, there's a lot of rules with Brady. A lot of rules. He can't go to the building. He can't go to the team meeting. He can't be in there. So Brady's got rules because he's making close to $400 million as a broadcaster. Let that number sink in. He just bought a percentage of the team. And when he bought it, the thing has just gone up. It's like a crazy stock. like Meta or Tesla. Brady buys into the Raiders. None of my business how much money he put in, hard cash. He bought in, and now it's gone through the roof. That's pretty good. And the new owners who are in the meeting, the new owners who I haven't met yet, are bought into the Raiders, and the Raiders are skyrocketing, and they have a voice. So they're all thinking out loud, who are we going to hire? We have the list. We know what the list is. It's basically Pete Carroll and Ben Johnson. I'm surprised Pete Carroll isn't getting more national interest outside the Raiders. I'm surprised that Pete Carroll hasn't been hired already, because you're available to talk to Pete, and you have to wait to talk to Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for Philly. You can't talk to those guys anymore. They're off limits. So at the beginning of the divisional round. Anybody know why Pete Carroll hasn't been hired yet as a head coach of New Orleans or Jacksonville? Can someone help me with that? Why is Pete Carroll still available? The guy's an unbelievable coach. As Max Crosby said, he's one of 4 coaches ever to win a national championship and a Super Bowl. I mean, this guy is in rare air, and he's still out there, which that's kind of getting at me now. I like to kind of figure stuff out. I can't figure that one out. I don't know why Pete Carroll hasn't been hired yet by somebody else. What are all these teams waiting for? Pete Carroll's available. Nobody wants him other than the Raiders, maybe? Can't figure that one out. Yeah. Talk to people about it, text people about it. All I got from one person really high up is that, Pete's taking his time. Pete's being selective. No one's rushing. No one's going over, trying to do this right now. I'm like, really? I'm surprised by that. I'm very surprised by that. You can't talk to Aaron Glenn. Rex Ryan, who I like his brother Rob a lot. Rex Ryan's telling everybody, hire me for the Jets. The one thing you don't want to do, everybody, I've been doing radio 30 years almost. One thing you don't want to do is call the competition and go, hey, I got a show, but I'd really like to leave and come and work for you. You don't do that when you have it. You don't want that to get back to the boss. And Rex Ryan's basically telling everybody, I want the Jet job. And the Jets looked at it and said, at least for now, we're not interested. So the Ben Johnson story is what we're talking about today. And my topic today is, are you willing to wait for Ben Johnson? Are you willing to wait and roll the dice? This is Vegas.
Define wait.
Bobby says define wait. Assuming they win the Super Bowl or play in the Super Bowl, he can't be addressed. He can't talk to someone, but he can kind of wink, agree to terms, and kind of have a verbal.
Right.
But you're talking about a guy that you might not be able to sit down with for a long time, which is really the evening of the Super Bowl. And even if you lose the Super Bowl, you have a Super Bowl party. Shrimps the size of your forearm, a band that's already booked because you think you're going to win the Super Bowl. So they booked the band, and the band could be Macklemore. It could be Bruno Mars. They get paid a lot of money to play at the Super Bowl winning and losing party, right? So this guy, it's going to take a little bit of time to talk to him. Pete Carroll, you can hire him tomorrow. Tomorrow, you could have Pete Carroll in the building. We can have a press conference on Monday, Tuesday. Pete Carroll, head coach of the Raiders. They're not doing that because I think Ben Johnson's the lead candidate. But Pete Carroll's a pretty good choice. Yeah. I like Pete a lot. Yeah. And as Vinny reported this first, he's high up on the thoughts of everyone in our building, the Raider Nation headquarters. He's high up there. And if he ends up getting the job, that'd be cool. It'd be really cool for Pete Carroll to walk on Allegiant Stadium's field and walk up to Andy Reid in the pregame going, oh, I beat you a bunch. Yep. I beat you a bunch. Yeah. I've beaten you my whole life. You've beaten me, but I've beaten you. And then walk 2 weeks later on the field in L.A., Chargers at SoFi, and go to Jim Harbaugh. Oh, I beat you. I beat you all the time. You beat me once at Stanford. I beat you all the time. And I beat you when you were with the Niners and I was with the Seahawks. So Pete gives you that ability to have gravitas, the ability to walk in the room and go, oh, this guy's won. Okay, not that Antonio Pierce didn't have that. He won a Super Bowl as a player, not as a head coach. So I want to hear from Raider Nation today on a Friday. It's a getaway bucket of Modelo's Friday. On what you believe is your patience to wait for Ben Johnson. What is your patience? How much patience do you have? Do you have 3 weeks of patience, or are you really worried about this? I don't know unless you call me. I don't know how nervous you are or not. I'm not nervous about it. This all ends up working out. I tell my sons that all the time, 23 and 21. Hard work is everything, but things are going to just happen and work out in your life, and you're not going to see it coming. That's what I learned in life. Now, as a dad, you tell my sons, work your ass off, outwork everybody in the room, but whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and be ready for some curveballs along the way. Could we get a curveball? Raiders interviewing Ron Rivera per Albert Breer. Yeah, I don't think Ron Rivera is going to be the coach. But as I look at this, a name I like a lot, Todd Monken, a lot. You want to talk about a plan, a potential, what happens if Ben Johnson isn't available? What happens if Pete Carroll takes a job next week and he likes a job in Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's getting skittish and they want Pete Carroll? Well, I think this, Todd Monken is a really good option. He is the offensive coordinator of the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. Okay? This guy is an elite play caller. Oklahoma State, LSU, Jacksonville Jaguars, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cleveland Brown offensive coordinator at Georgia for a national championship, and the Ravens offensive coordinator. This is someone I'd just be thinking of. Put him on the list. Mike McCarthy, someone asked me, Mike McCarthy. I think sitting down and interviewing Mike McCarthy would be really smart. Yeah. Really smart to go and just pick his mind about football and offense and what he sees with the Raiders there. But with all this, we're going to wait and see. Now, if Detroit loses, and I'll get into this next hour, if Detroit loses, Ben Johnson could be the coach Monday. Right. He could be the coach Monday if he agrees and he wants to be the Raiders coach. Right. If Detroit wins, they host the NFC Championship game, most likely against the Eagles. And then after that, it's a bye week and then the Super Bowl. It's a wait. It's a bit of a wait. I'm willing to wait. I mean, I'm just a fly on the wall. I'm just sitting here like you are. I'm no different than you. I'm willing to wait if they think they got him. Tom Brady has got this magic dust. And Ben Johnson looks up to Tom Brady and says, man, holy cow, I would love to work with you. I would love you to be involved in one meeting a month or 2 meetings a month or 3 meetings a week. I'd love to pick your mind on this, Brock Bowers, and how I'm going to get him the ball. Imagine Tom Brady and Ben Johnson and Brock Bowers sitting down for lunch talking about offense. That'd be really cool. And the same with Pete Carroll and all these other guys. So I'm testing your patience today as we're waiting. And I'd like to hear what you have to say on this, because as Adam Hughes is saying in the YouTube chat, chill. Raiders will make the right choice. Ooh. Well, we hope so, because it's a big one. It's a really, really big decision. 702-365-9200. Looney's on the show today, my podcast partner, and he's on Benny and the Penny. He's got a big syndicated television show, and I've been working with him 14 years, and he's my podcast partner. He's pretty good at picking games. He's going to join us. Joe Arrigo here in Vegas, who knows UNLV football really well. I wanted to get Joe in here and talk about NIL, the transfer portal, UNLV. We'll do that sometime next hour. And then an open phone day on a Friday before my bucket of Modelo's. Went out late last night, a little bit later than I wanted to. Had a great night. Went to dinner at One Steak at Virgin, and ended up at Durango with my buddy Brent. So we had a good night last night with some friends in town. And then tonight I'll be over at Resorts World, which I'm excited about. We got an event over there. And then we got football Saturday and Sunday, and we'll pick those games today. I'm looking for an upset. If you're gambling on these games, give me an upset at 702-365-9200. Darren in Regina, Canada. Hello, Darren. Good. How's Canada?
Canada's cold right now.
How cold?
-10. What's that in Fahrenheit?
I'm not good at that, but man, that is pretty cold. What's on your mind? Who do you think should be the coach of the Raiders, Darren? That's why you called in.
Yeah, up here we're hearing we're going to wait for Ben Johnson.
Okay, you're going to wait in Canada for Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of Detroit. So I think you're believing that the offense needs a kick in the ass, and he'd be the guy to do it.
Nation, what's your name?
Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah.
Ryan, where you calling from?
I think. I'm optimistic,
All right. You got anything else, Darren?
I just want to give a shout out to Canada, and I'm a big fan. I've been a Raider fan I'm 55, so it's been a long time, So growing up in Canada, everyone was either a Lions fan or a Minnesota Vikings fan,
Yeah.
I went against the grain.
You did. You are a Canadian Raider fan. Next time you come out to a game, have you ever been to Allegiant Stadium in Vegas?
No, but we're coming out soon. You bet.
All right. I will have you at the Torch. We'll have you on stage at the Torch, and I'll introduce you to Eric Allen when you come from Canada, okay? Thank you, Darren. Appreciate you. Oh, Canada. Oh, Canada. Bobby, I never thought I'd have a radio show that you could hear in Canada. And there you are. No one's on the phones in Vegas. Remember, Vegas is weird. Vegas is weird if you want to do sports radio. We started together in 96 at Sports Fan Radio Network. Now, I got a pretty big show, I think. One of the better ones in town. That's what they tell me. Advertisers back it up. And no one calls from Vegas. They call from Regina, Canada. That's where I get my phone calls from.
Cool.
Amazing. 702-365-9200. The monologue is brought to you by Remy Martin. Team Up for Success. Remy Cointreau, when you make your margarita, it's the go-to. You have to have the Remy Cointreau. It's the best of the best. All great margaritas have it, and it's the 300-year birthday anniversary of Remy Martin. Team Up for Excellence. My podcast partner, Tom Looney. He's fun. He's really good on the radio. He's going to join us from Los Angeles. He's a news anchor now. He's going to tell us a little bit about the fires, an update on that. We'll go pick some games, and then we'll get into Ben Johnson, Pete Carroll. And do you have a wild card head coach that we haven't thought of? Who's your wild card who could be the next head coach of the Raiders that you don't think we're talking about enough? Man, I need water. I didn't bring water, and I almost could not get through that. I really am dehydrated. So I am going to get a big, big, big glass of water and be right back. Wow. You need Looney's number?
This?
Morning tailgate, weekdays at 7 a.m.
That's one street down all the freaking numbers.
9:20 a.m.
Oh yeah, I've been dealing with this guy every day.
We have everybody on hold now. They can't
There's nobody on hold. I'm not answering. Digging up Louis' number.
Well, why was there so much calling right now? I just gave the phone number.
I know what I'm doing.
I know you know what you're doing, but it's like,
Wait,
you know, I just went to break with the phone number, and it's like, I know.
Accidents happen
Raider
every day
Nation,
and
what's
can
your
be
name?
devastating and life-changing. Hi, this is Paul Pata from Paul Pata Law.
Raider
Whether it's a
Nation,
car
what's your name?
accident, motorcycle accident, or slip and fall on commercial premises, if you are injured due to someone else's
I'm sorry,
negligence,
what?
our team of expert injury attorneys will focus on you and your case and help you get your life
I
back
know,
on
I was
track.
like-
Remember, it's not about the injury, it's about the recovery. Check us out at paulpatalaw.com or call us 702-707-3000.
Meet Barkley.
Okay, Ryan, I'm gonna have you read off. You ready, all right?
He leaves fast. When Barkley hears hissing coming from a gas appliance, he leaves fast. When Barkley sees dirt or water shooting from the ground, he leaves fast. Barkley then calls 911 and Southwest Gas from a safe location.
Did that dog just grab a phone and dial 911?
Gas lines can be buried anywhere, so remember to call 911 and Southwest Gas.
Colin here. Vegas is like my second home. I started my career there with Tarks One and Rebels, still visit regularly, so I know Vegas. And the only jeweler in Vegas I would recommend is the Jewelers of Las Vegas and my friend Mordecai. Listen, they were #1 jeweler in Vegas back when I lived there, and they're still the #1 jeweler today, winning award after award. It's a local family business, which I love. Great prices on anything you need and absolutely the best service. It's the reason why everybody goes there to buy their diamonds and jewelry. Also, take advantage of their lifetime
333-5555.
They've been doing that
Yep.
for decades.
He's got one of the coolest phone numbers I've ever seen.
This liar poker number.
Yeah, he's got a great. So what sound we got? You said you had
On the sheet.
yeah, well, I'm looking at the sheet. Yep. I'll throw to the Shefter.
Okay.
Whew. I had a couple of Tito's last night, man. Woo! Feel good today. Got a good 3-mile walk in. Probably a little bit longer because I walked the dog, which was nice.
Okay.
I got a new laptop stand. How about this? I'm getting all technical now. Thank you. Gurdeep. Little laptop stand.
Going to be a radio season ticket.
Yep.
We'll take him and I'll go get mine.
Okay. I'm going to text him topics right now.
All right.
Cash in and make 2025 your most profitable year yet. Don't wait. We're Nevada's most trusted real estate team, and we've built 3 powerful systems to help you sell your home fast. Need cash now? We'll advance it to you, interest-free, in just 24 hours. Repairs in the way? We'll handle.
I got one other call holding, by the way. I think it's
We'll
passionate.
buy your house for cash in just 24
What do you
hours.
mean? You think it is?
I think it might be.
Every moment you wait is an opportunity lost. Don't be the one saying, I should have called the real estate.
So we're kind of getting our balls busted by some little wise-ass prank callers. That's good. So, no, you know what I used to do? No, what I used to do was, we have caller ID, so we can see where people are calling from. So at times at 4 a.m, true, I would wake up at 4 a.m. and call these people at their homes. You want to have fun when they pick up the phone at 4 a.m? Hello? Oh, it's JT. It's JT. What? Well, how'd you get my number? Well, you're the guy busting my balls and hanging up on Bobby.
Okay, this could be Lamar Jackson talk about playing in the cold.
Okay.
Got it?
The official tequila of the JT the Brick Show.
Bigger jacket, probably. I got to talk to Kaneko to see what he got going on. Equipment guys. They pretty much do a great job, though, so we should be good.
But you don't do gloves under any circumstance.
No. I tried it in practice. I was horrible. Leave that up to Teddy, two gloves, Teddy Bridgewater. Shout out to Teddy.
It seems like you do handle the cold weather pretty well. I mean, being a Florida guy.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to win, so it really don't matter. I can't go into a game and be like, man, it's too cold. I can't make things happen. Coach is going to probably send me home. Eric going to be probably trying to come, have me go up there upstairs and talk to him and stuff. So I got to lock in the cold.
That's Lamar Jackson, a Florida guy who plays in the cold. Right? Tua's from Hawaii. He's terrible in the cold. Oh, this other guy, Jared Goff, is not good. And Matthew Stafford, I'll find it. I saw it on Twitter, X. Matthew Stafford's record in the rain and the cold is awful. Remember, Matthew Stafford spent his whole career in Detroit in a dome. Now he plays in L.A. Right? There's not a lot of cold games Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff play. And Jared Goff doesn't have to play in the cold. He's got home field advantage. And then the Super Bowl's obviously played in a dome. So it sets up nicely. But Lamar Jackson's a hell of a player. I mean, he is a great player. Whoever loses this game, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, is going to have a massive loss on their resume because this is a must-watch game. I think it's one of the best games I can recall in a divisional round. This is really an AFC championship game. But you got Kansas City on the other side, and they're the reigning champs. So I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, if Baltimore was playing Kansas City or Buffalo was playing Kansas City this weekend, I don't think those games would be bigger than Buffalo-Baltimore.
Right.
Buffalo-Baltimore are the two best teams in football. Kansas City, obviously the reigning champs, but they've been flawed all year.
Yeah.
And what a shame one of these teams are going to get knocked out. What a shame that Buffalo and Baltimore, one of those two teams, aren't in Kansas City this weekend in the divisional round. And we have to watch Houston. And if Houston wins, it's going to break the internet. If Houston can win that game, that is one of the most iconic road wins that we've seen. And C.J. Stroud would be the winner of that. It's not impossible, but highly unlikely. Gurdeep, did I get that? Gurdeep in Phoenix. Thanks for calling. Where my son goes to school in Tempe at Arizona State. How are you?
Hey, JT, doing well. First-time caller.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the Raiders app. Originally from Fresno, California. Hell of season tickets in Oakland and now in Vegas. And me and my daughters and wife come fly into every game that we can. And, this has been great to have this Raiders radio app. Keeping the entire Raider Nation connected. And you're the pillar to keep all our crazy fans together.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thanks for the compliment. What do you think about the coaching search?
So, I mean, it's a proposition. I know all these years everyone says we're broke, and I know we're not. I think with the valuations and how the team is, where we're at, I mean, why can't we have both of them? Why can't we have Pete Carroll come in and Ben Johnson?
No, that's not going to happen. So stop that in the phone call, please. You're off to a good start. We're not going to have Ben Johnson and Pete Carroll. Okay, Ben Johnson's not going to be the offensive coordinator for Pete Carroll. Let's stop that. Let's bring in a voice of reason, my longtime partner, Tom Looney, my podcast partner. Do you have the podcast? It's at JT and Looney, wherever you get your podcast. Hello, friend. How are you out in L.A.?
Good to hear from you. And when I become the voice of reason, that means that last caller must have been a piece of work.
Yeah, he was a piece of work. He wanted to have Ben Johnson and Pete Carroll on the coaching staff.
Well, I remember back, if you go back in the hot tub time machine, I wanted LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the Lakers, and I got him.
Yes, you predicted. Why can't everybody play on the Lakers? You got LeBron and Anthony Davis, and you're no better than a 9 or 10 seed for that. How's that working out?
Oh, man, and not only, right now not too well, but we did get a championship out of it. I remember when I used to bring that up, and you used to move right along. Okay, funny boy.
Yeah, the comedy guy. Hey, on a serious note, the fires with you on KABC, and you've had a really rough week, and I've seen your house, and it's right up against a forest, and you're in a safer part of town. What was it like to our entire audience being on the news, big job that you have there, covering the fires that made it down to the beach in Malibu?
Covering the fire and having bags packed and radio equipment ready to do, though, because I do a lot from home, ready to do it from somewhere else. Yeah, it was tough because when the 1,000 acres behind me was no threat because it wasn't on fire, but when the winds were blowing 80 miles an hour, they couldn't use all the fancy toys in the sky, which are amazing, and those guys that fly them are amazing, but they couldn't use those the first couple of days of the fire to see what happens when they can't. So once the winds died down, I felt safer. But who cares about me? Look at all the people who don't feel safe, don't have a place. Red Cross doing an amazing job. They just arrived in town as well. So many people also. LA feels so loved right now. Firefighters from Mexico, firefighters from Canada and Texas coming in. Fire engines going down the street with Spanish writing on the side. It's amazing. All the people have come together to help us out. It's incredible.
Tom Looney joins us from my podcast, his podcast, JT and Looney, wherever you get your podcast. You and I had coffee at that Starbucks once in the Palisades because Alan Eisenstock, who was the co-author of my book, lived there. That's gone. That whole area where we had coffee and walked up and down that block is gone. And my wife used to take the boys when they were kids in their strollers in that neighborhood in the Pacific Palisades. It's one of my favorite neighborhoods anywhere in the world, and it's gone. And think of all the people that you and I both know and all those families now that won't have a house, and it'll take years upon years to build and get contractors and lumber and excavators in there and build homes again. I just feel so bad for everybody and what they're dealing with.
And also even like survivor's guilt, they call it. When your home is standing, but you have to drive home, and for the next 5 years, you just hear nails pounding, but your bank isn't there, and your grocery store's not there, and your Starbucks isn't there, and your daycare isn't there, and your doggy daycare isn't. It's just the way people's lives have been torn apart. And who work on those homes, the landscapers who work on those homes, and some of the maids who work on some of those homes, and the kids who go to school at Palisades High School burned to the ground. And a kid from my gym, who's a poor kid, immigrant kid, his dad is a janitor at that school. So he goes to that school. His school's gone.
Yeah.
So it's the way that it's affected so many people. It's heart-wrenching.
Looney joins us. Let's pick some games. You're up to speed with Benny versus the Penny. You've already done this on TV, so you should be all prepped up. We have a Saturday special. 2 games on Saturday. I'll start with Texans at Chiefs. Chiefs line opened up. Chiefs -7.5. It's now 8.5. Will it get to 9? No one's given the Texans a chance, but man, they look good. They pounded the Chargers. They picked off Justin Herbert 4 times, and now they go after Mahomes. Do you give the Texans a chance to keep this close?
Well, yeah, especially early on. The Chiefs have been eating Christmas cookies since Christmas Day. They've been off for weeks, and so maybe they'll be a little bit rusty, but they'll also be rested after scarfing down those Christmas cookies for weeks. Houston is probably going to want to strike. Well, the Chiefs are rusty, but most likely Kansas City, once again, will lollygag their way through the game and win late, clinching their 7th straight AFC Championship game. But will they cover with the Texans getting all those points? And that's a tough one. These games are all, I think, going to be close. I think that the Chiefs will win. It's always an easy prediction, but I don't know if they'll cover.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Chiefs win, but they don't cover the spread. The late game is the Commanders at Lions. I picked the Lions to win the Super Bowl because I have courage. I have courage every August when I pick a Super Bowl winner. I knew the Commanders would be better with Jaden Daniels. I didn't think they'd be this much. The line has moved from 7.5 to 9.5. That's a lot of points for the Lions to give up. I like the Lions. I think they could cover this spread, but it's just too many points with a guy like Jaden Daniels who can go up and down the field in under 40 seconds.
Oh, my God, aren't they fun? Both of these teams are just terrific to watch at the offensive command and the defensive program. Both of these defenses are aging as the season goes along, so they're not healthy as the season goes along, but they have defensive issues, the Lions, as do the Commanders. And I love my running quarterbacks, and I love my young running quarterbacks because there's no old ones. And it'll be fun. Daniels will be electrifying Detroit Lions or the entire package. And they win the game, but they don't cover again. Again, we're going to have a close game because the Commanders, as you know, can go up and down the field at will with their quarterback who's playing like he's 30.
Yeah, the Lions are starting to get healthy, man. They had so many guys out, and they're getting 2 defensive starters back.
Oh, and the way that they've been beating up on teams, the way that they beat up on Minnesota, and the way that they resemble their coach, I love the Lions.
Looney joins us. Follow him on X. He used to be Looney on the. He's Looney on TV. Looney on TV. Elon was okay. Oh my God! I didn't know you have a blue.
Oh, a blue check mark. Well, I was gifted with a blue check mark.
You were gifted with a blue check mark. We'll go to the Sunday matchup. I root against the Eagles. I repeat, I root against the Eagles. I want them to lose every time they play. Eagles are laying 6. Rams come in. They played so good in Arizona as they lost a home game due to the fires. So they had to fly to Arizona. Then they had to fly back to L.A. Now they got to fly to Philadelphia where it's really cold. They're not really great in the cold with their quarterback there. But, man, they impressed me in that game. I think the Eagles will win this game, and I think they'll win by a touchdown, so they'll cover this spread. But you're in L.A. What's the Rams buzz like in La La Land?
Well, the Rams, they've gotten healthy at the right time, and Matthew Stafford, one of the best postseason quarterbacks in history, once he came to the Rams. I mean, the Eagles' plan should be pretty simple, and that is, and they used it to beat the Rams earlier this year, give the ball to Saquon Barkley, run a 1979 offense where you give it to Saquon Barkley 39 times, and it's probably not a bad strategy. But the Rams, look at how healthy they've gotten. They're playing all around football. This would be my upset special.
Whoa! This is your upset special?
Absolutely. I think the Rams win outright. The way they've been playing all around football, it's going to be a really close game because all the Eagles have done is win, and they're almost like the NFC version of the Kansas City Chiefs. They lollygag and don't look good doing it, but they do it. But the Rams have been looking good doing it at the end, except when they mailed in that loss to the Seahawks when they were trying. I think the Rams win the game 23-20.
Looney with the upset. Rams over the Eagles, 23-20. I disagree, but I'd love that to happen. I would love the Rams to win this game. And then finally, the heavyweight fight, Ali Frazier 2. They talk about 1 at the Garden and 3. Ali Frazier 2 is one of the greatest fights of all time, maybe one of the biggest games ever played in the divisional round in Orchard Park, where you saw the Rolling Stones, I believe, in the 80s in that venue there in Orchard Park, New York. Who do you got in that one?
Yeah, Rolling Stones on July 4th. It was incredible. So amazing that you would do the same analogy I have. It's Buffalo, New York's right down the street from the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. And, last century, Ali Frazier is the fight of the century. This century, we get Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen battling out for the top spot in the AFC Championship game. And it should be an epic game. You'll see a lot of lead changes, I think, because both these teams panicking to avoid yet another disappointing finish to its season. And both of these mistake-prone quarterbacks in the past were not mistake-prone this year. I mean, it could be argued, Lamar Jackson, take a look at His 4 interceptions, 3 were avoidable and weren't his fault. So he really has one. Josh Allen not turning over the ball. Remember, that was something he did every game over the years just because he was a one-man show and it was still fun to watch. So which one of these quarterbacks makes a mistake? And that is probably what this game is going to come down to. And if Lamar Jackson is going to have a hell to pay because people seem to give Josh Allen it seems to be more the media treats him better. And not only that, Lamar Jackson is going through John Elway syndrome. Remember, John Elway didn't win a Lombardi Trophy until his last 2 years in the NFL. And Lamar Jackson's career, same way. An MVP, great, incredible, not winning Super Bowls yet. And this is the Super Bowl here.
Yeah,
it is. This is the Super Bowl. And I got to pick somebody here: the team of my youth versus the team I have the fetish for, and the Baltimore Ravens. I won't be surprised if the Ravens win this game. Now, supposedly the Ravens are the underdog, so it's not an upset. The Buffalo's the underdog, so it's not an upset special. But everyone's picking the Bills, and when everyone zigs, I zag. I'm going with the Ravens.
Wow. I'm going Bills 27-24. I'm going Bills with a late field goal and hold on and win on downs and turn him over. So I'll
go with the Ravens 31-30, so the Ravens win, but the Bills cover.
There you go. I love that. Hey, you don't think Pete Carroll's too old? You covered him at USC. What happens if Pete Carroll ends up being the coach of the Raiders at 73?
Oh, my God. It's thrilling. If you remember, Brett Musburger became the play-by-play voice of the Raiders at 79. Do what you love. You'll live a long time. You'll be healthy. Football coaches are all 25 in their soul. They walk into a locker room. These 60, 70-year-old guys walk into a locker room where the guys aren't the same race and have purple hair and they're gay and they have a nose ring and the coach says, "Let's go, guys." And, coaches are able to evolve with the times. They're all 25 in their soul. That's why they live so long. When you do what you love, Dick Van Dyke nominated for an Emmy when he's 99. How long did Betty White live? 100? Do what you love. You'll live a long time. Pete Carroll is 25 in his soul. He'll be great.
Love it. JT and Looney, the podcast. We're doing our podcast because someday we want some rich guy at Spotify or someone to give us $1 million or $5 million so we can move to the beach and live 2 houses down from each other. I wouldn't want you right next door to me, but I'd like you in the cul-de-sac. Two houses down. Neighbors.
Yes, neighbors at arm's length. Yes.
Enjoy your weekend. Stay busy on the radio, my friend.
Okay, yeah.
That's Tom Looney, my podcast partner, JT and Looney, wherever you get your podcast. We're going to take that audio and put it up there this week because we didn't get a chance to turn our computers on. He's been so busy on KABC in Los Angeles covering the fires and doing a hell of a job, man. He's got a big presence out there in LA as a news anchor, and he's had a rough week. I mean, we can't talk about this enough on what the people have been dealing with in Los Angeles because Looney lives out there. I lived there for 10 years, got a lot of friends and people. 2 of my friends lost their homes completely, gone, ash. And that's been the discussion in my house. It has not been about sports for me this week at all. Hasn't been about anything other than watching and hoping everyone in LA is safe from the fires. And whatever you can do to make a donation to the Red Cross or whoever these food banks are really important to help feed the people there who are working, including the firefighters. Please do that. Wanted to play this soundbite from Pat McAfee's show. This is from earlier today, talking about Ben Johnson with Adam Shefter.
He's getting a head coaching job. He is getting one. It's just not going to be in Dallas.
Okay, so where's he going to get a head coaching job at?
Well, I know everybody's got Ben Johnson anointed to the Raiders. I'm not in that camp right now. So I have to believe it before I see it.
Jacksonville. No, we're not just going to start listing off Jacksonville. Maybe just look at the eyes. Look at the eyes. I got him.
Well, here's my question. Again, I don't know where he's going to go. He's going to have, I think, 3 realistic options. But why is everybody ignoring Chicago when it comes to Ben Johnson? Why has that been just dispelled? I don't get it. Wow. What am I missing here?
I think we all think the Chicago Bears organization. So whenever we hear that Ben Johnson, we're not saying that's just, it seems like it's a bit of a go. Yeah, that is what it seems like. So whenever we hear Ben Johnson, we think back to last year when Ben Johnson was like, I'm going to be very picky about where I go because he has options. Be who you can afford to be.
Okay, so if you're going to be very picky, And again, I know that this Raiders freight train has gathered a whole lot of steam, and I don't want to slow it down because, by the way, I want to say for the record, it could happen. He could be the coach there. But I am not just convinced just yet that that's going to be the way it's going to be. When we're talking about picking situations, if you're picking the Raiders, you're telling me that Ben Johnson turned down the chance to go coach Jaden Daniels last year, turned that down so he could go to a place this year in Las Vegas without a top pick, without a quarterback that plays in a division with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't. Whenever you lay it out that way, no, it does not.
I'm just wondering. I'm just laying it out there like that.
So that was interesting. I really believe that's an interesting bite because there's Adam Schefter saying at the end, the Raiders don't have a quarterback. That's his words, not mine. So he basically doesn't think Aiden O'Connell exists. They don't have a quarterback. No one wants to coach this team. They're not going to coach this team because Aiden O'Connell is projected to be one of the quarterbacks. Well, Adam Schefter is a pretty powerful guy in the media. He's the number one guy when it comes to breaking news. And he's in the camp. He's not sold on Ben Johnson to the Raiders. So I wanted to play that for you. We'll hear from Mike Florio. We cut up that sound a little bit later on. So, other people have opinions. We want you to hear this on the show because a lot of Raider fans don't have an opinion on this topic. They just don't. They don't know anything about Ben Johnson. Fair. No idea who Ben Johnson is. You all despise Josh McDaniels at the press conference. I was on the air that day. You all called me 9 lines deep hating Josh McDaniels before he started. Yeah. So if you want to win or lose, you probably won that battle. But no one knows Ben Johnson. So I think Raider Nation's being kind of cool about this guy. They're not ripping him, saying, no, he's never coached before. He's never coached. No, you don't hear that from Raider Nation. They're smart enough, this fan base, to understand that this is the guy if you're looking at future potential great play caller. And that's what he is. Future great play caller as a head coach. That's the categories he's in. But he's going to have to win in order for that to happen. 702-365-9200. Thanks to Tom Looney. Get our podcast, JT and Looney, wherever you download your podcast. Joe Arrigo at the top of the hour on Dan Mullen and UNLV football and what's at stake. Yeah. I just saw someone bust my balls that, every once in a while I hang up on a caller. Let me say this right into the camera. I hang up on shitty callers. Y'all understand that? I'm in the business of entertaining and putting people on the radio. I talk way too much. I don't have a co-host. I don't have two. I have a couple guests to show. That's it. It's all me. So I want people to call in, and I want them to be good. And if they're not good, they're not going to get on the show, and they're going to get hung up on. If you got a problem with that, I don't give a fuck. I hang up on people who don't deserve to be on the radio. They could be elderly. They could be 18. They could be 30. It could be a mom with 2 kids. It's a pleasure to take calls and talk to people on the radio. But it's a privilege for the people to call into a show, not mine, all of them. And you have to be prepared. You have to have energy. And you have to give a shit. If you don't, then you shouldn't be calling into radio shows. So if someone's going to get all upset that I hang up on a guy a little too early, or I quote, air quote, cut him off, too bad. There's no apologies there from me. I used to be a cold caller, a stockbroker. I got hung up on. I made 300 cold calls a day. 300. And had a pretty good career at a young age. And I got hung up on those 300 calls a day. I probably got hung up on over 200 times to get 5 people interested in buying a stock. So grow a pair. If you're in a chat and you're all upset that I didn't let the guy finish his call because he had no energy, he had nothing to say. Now, you could say, why did Bobby put him on the air? Now, Bobby went out to have a cigarette, which he does all the time. Well, Bobby's running the show. He's like the pilot. He's got to do a bunch of stuff. So if someone calls in, he gets the name. If he likes them, good. So that's it. Just wanted to explain that. As this true Raider goes, why am I irritated? Another coward hanging out on a chat. No one knows who he is, but he's taking shots. So many people are just so offended. Is that going to change on Monday? I'm not a political guy. But on Monday, is everyone going to be less offended? Is everyone on Monday going to be okay, or is everyone going to be offended on Monday? Derek, I did not push penny stocks. I've never sold a penny stock in my life. Never sold a penny stock in my life. Toasty Topic says, your show, your rules. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are much nicer and more gracious than me. It's worked for me for 30 years. This is a business. We go pretty hard here. We take some calls. If your calls suck, you're going to get hung up on. Fair, Bobby? Works for you? Yeah. Bobby doesn't want to take calls at all. Bobby doesn't want to take calls at all. How about that?
Monologue 5 guests. I'm good to go.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't care what they think. Is this going to be Sean Payton coming back talking about phone mix?
Yeah.
So I'm going to have like about 4 minutes.
Okay.
A proud partner of the J to the Break Show. Allegiant Stadium is the home to world-class.
Bobby, give my number to Mark. Yeah, you're right about that, Toasty. If they complain, they can start their own show. Everybody has their own show now. No, Daryl Hayes, I'm not lacking callers, Daryl. We have plenty. We have great guests. You have my opinion. And callers don't run the show. I run the show.
We're looking for quality.
We're looking for quality callers. Quality. Daryl, do you understand that?
Don't call me up and say, what do you think about the radio?
Yeah. And there are other shows on this channel and other shows on sports radio that are, they interview callers, some shows, not on this station, but you ever hear the shows that interview the callers?
Sean Payton.
Got it.
Handmade vodka, America's original craft vodka. Visit Tito'sVodka.com.
I know this. He's very conscientious. He comes in, he spends a lot of time here. He was here in my office for half an hour yesterday. Yeah, I think it's all in front of him. And I've said this before. I think we found, that player that can lead us and be what we need relative to having the success we're used to having. I think we found it.
That's Sean Payton on Bo Nix. Looks like they hit a home run with him. JT back with you, brought to you by Modelo, the #1 beer in America. I have my bucket of Modelos on a Friday. They are icing down in Summerlin for later on today. I hope everybody has a good weekend. Bobby reminded me that we're off on Monday for MLK Day. We're off. I'm doing 4 hours that night on Mad Dog after the national championship game. We got the national championship on Monday. So you got hockey. You're going to be working hockey. I'll be on the Mad Dog channel, but we're off on Raider Nation Radio on Monday. It is a paid holiday, as they say around here. So the building will be closed, even if I came in and wanted to do shows. No show on Monday unless there's a head coaching hire. And if that's the case, I'll fire up the machine from home and we'll do something because we'll see what that's going to happen. Yes, we're going to New Orleans for Super Bowl. I'll be there. I'm going to go in the Tuesday of Super Bowl week. I'll be doing shows Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from the Convention Center in New Orleans on Radio Row. Brought to you by all of our partners who are our partners here who provide us with everything we need. We're going to go down there and give them some added value there at New Orleans. I'm still leaning on Buffalo and Detroit. I'm still leaning on Buffalo and Detroit in the Super Bowl if that could happen. If it's Baltimore, Detroit, man, that would be a great game. Lamar Jackson versus Detroit in the Super Bowl, our fast track in New Orleans, that'd be a lot of fun to watch. Anybody but Kansas City. Kansas City's got an interesting road. They're at home. They play Houston, and whoever they play, I'm assuming they're going to beat Houston. But whoever wins, Buffalo or Baltimore, I would assume is going to be banged up, bruised, and they're going to have to get on a plane and fly to Kansas City, and that's going to be tough to do. And it's going to be a short week because Kansas City plays on Saturday and Buffalo plays on Sunday. And I'm assuming Buffalo's going to win, so Kansas City will have an extra day. On top of that, then they'll be at home, and Buffalo's going to use the day to travel. So with all that being said, it's stacked in Kansas City's favor. And we don't want in Raider Nation to see a three-peat. If they three-peat, they are going to shove it in our face. You think they got merchandise now in the Swifties and all the Kelsey brothers on every show with their girlfriends and wives? If they three-peat, watch out. Watch out, because they are going to let us know about it in Vegas. They don't care about the Chargers or Denver. They don't. They care about us. Kansas City's got a big problem with us over the decades here. So we want them to lose. And I think they're going to lose. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year because they've struggled all year. But they've won these games, and they deserve to be where they're at. We'll talk to Joe Arrigo, local guy in town with a national voice on football. I wanted to get to UNLV, football and college football with the championship game. For all the bricklayers who support our YouTube show in the YouTube studio at JT the Brick YT, have a fabulous weekend, everybody. We got one more hour to go. Thanks, everyone. Got a lot, big week of content, man. We did a lot together. Appreciate you. Hope you all have a great weekend. It was a beautiful day out here in Vegas. Let me get the weather here in Vegas. 60? Yeah. It is 58 degrees and sunny. High of 60 today. Bobby was right. Have a good one, everybody. Appreciate everybody who came in today, even the haters, even a couple of the wise asses. We wouldn't have a channel if it wasn't for all of you. Have a great weekend.